Hey guys, this is a continuing video for the 454 Gen 6 Silverton and Marco Island. This is the lower intake. I got it torqued up. Uh, I didn't think that the quality of my video was going very well a little while ago, and I don't mind telling you, I dropped my socket and I got really pissed off. So I just took the phone and I turned the damn thing off, only to realize that the actual video was pretty good, and I wish I had have left it on and the socket didn't fall nearly as far as I thought it fell. So anyway, it's torqued up. It wasn't really all that big of a deal, but what I was complaining about a little while ago, the spacing, the center hole spacing on the gaskets for the outer bolts is a little bit wide. And it's weird when you put the bolt in, it pushes the gasket, like when you put the bolt in from either end. The outer bolt, the lighting's horrible, so I'm not going to try to show it. It perfectly centers the gasket in the intake ports of the head, and I get it. That's cool. I'm okay with that. But it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get it all lined up. And that bolt, I had to put a socket on it in order to get it to push through where the threads were bumping up against the metal surround on the gasket. So if you view that video, you'll see kind of what I'm talking about. But it didn't screw up the alignment or anything, and after I got the socket on it, it literally started with ease, and so it was kind of frustrating. So I pulled all these back out. I did determine that none of them passed through into the water jacket of the head in any fashion at all, and that's kind of funny. It lets me know how tired I am, because all of the water and the cooling is back here. That's merely, intake ports. So in other words, you didn't have to put sealant on any of these threads. And what I did is I put assembly lube to just oil it and keep it from seizing up. I could have put anti-seize, but I couldn't find my anti-seize, and neither here nor there. It's got oil on the threads, and also oil under the bottom of the head of the bolt, and then oil on the cast iron, because these surfaces are machined. Even though this is cast right here and kind of rough, that surface where the bolt goes in is machined and very fine. And when you're torquing, you don't want metal to metal. You want oil, some sort of oil or some sort of lubricant to I've never heard of anybody using grease. I wouldn't use grease. Just an oil. Engine oil is fine. Again, I like using the assembly lube, the zinc assembly lube, because it's thick and it doesn't run on you. But when you do your torquing, man, you can feel it. I mean, it's amazing once you, because this calls for a final torquing of 30 foot-pounds, and on that I start out at like 20. I always start out around 15 to 20, just get everything level, make sure that everything's aligned. Then I don't know, I think I went 20. I think I went 15 on this one, and then 25, and then 30. 3 steps. So when I did my final 30 foot-pound torque, it hit that mark, and after I waited about 10-15 minutes and went back, the oil allowed the bolt to really pull everything down the first time. There's no metal fatigue, as I discussed with the client earlier today. Waited 20 minutes, came back, ran through it again with the torque wrench at 30 foot-pounds, immediate click. The bolts didn't move. They did not move a bit, so that was excellent news. But where I'm going with this video is obviously as a continuation of the lower intake, is to discuss the upper. That is the GM style with the guides. They're kind of idiot proof. They align everything, which is cool. I'm okay with that. It's a nice design. And I have one of the gaskets right here. These go on dry. I do not put any sort of glue or fastener or anything, and I'll try to get a good shot here. It's so simple. I mean, just not to insult monkeys, but a monkey could do this and do it well. It's not difficult at all. You saw that kind of click in place. And I think also This acts as a crush. I'm sorry, I didn't have it in the camera. I think that probably acts as a crushing zone because this only torques up to 13 foot-pounds. You torque, the first torque is 6 foot-pounds, and I don't know what the inch-pound. I use an inch-pound torque wrench on that. I'll do the conversion, but it'll end up at 6 foot-pounds and 13 foot-pounds final. And the intake is right here. I'm not sure how good the lighting is. Yeah, the lighting's not too bad over there. The intake's super clean. I just went back across that. It's an aluminum alloy, so it didn't require much more cleaning. This damn cast iron, I knew it when I cleaned it Sunday that it would flash rust a little bit, so I actually had to go back across it earlier with my brush. But this, I just hit it with some fine Scotch-Brite and some lacquer thinner. I'm going to have to set the phone down to pick that up, but I'm going to go ahead and set it in position, so hold on one second. Double check. I'm usually pretty good about like counting my tools and whatnot, but you know, you always want to make sure there's not a socket down in there. Like a little while ago when I got in a bad mood and I got pissed off, you know, we're human. You have to stop and really think, you know, did I drop something down in there? So it's good and clear. And I'm just going to set this in place and probably end the video because I just realized that I have no idea where the bolts are. I do. They're inside the boat and I haven't cleaned them yet. So I'll come back in a little while. Oh, I'm sorry. Probably should pick the camera up. I don't even know. I didn't get to see what was being recorded. Basically, I was talking about, you know, checking to make sure everything was clear. I don't have these bolts in my hand. In other words, I don't have them in front of me. I'll talk about these gaskets in a second. But so basically, I'm going to end the video fairly quickly. But these torque up to 13 foot-pounds, and it is sequence torqued. I don't know the sequence by memory. I have to research it and pull up the diagram, and then I torque it from, you know, what I see on my phone per Mercruiser website. I think it's called Performance Marine. It's a really awesome website for Mercruiser torque specs, because sometimes the marine stuff is a little bit different. This is not. This is basically a standard 2500 Chevy, you know, 3/4 pound, 3/4 ton, 3/4 ton truck. So if you go on GM websites, you're pretty safe to go by their torque specs as well. But these are the gaskets I was talking about earlier. These are form fit, form designed. What a waste of mold work. Because this is what I was talking about at the front of the lower intake, where it sits atop the wall, and then back there where you see the squeeze out. You know, I don't want that kind of crap in between, because this is super stiff, and it, you know, just the slightest bit of this intake not settling properly, or it's bad enough that I'm having to fight the damn gaskets that, you know, the centering's off a little bit, and now I gotta fight these things and risk this getting crimped or some crap like that, or not crushing properly, and then holding the intake up and a little high. Because I've heard a lot of horror stories of engines filling full of coolant, you know, through the coolant passage, because this did not permit it to crush that final 10,000ths of an inch that it really needed to seal off. Or either it got torqued up in a super cold climate or a super hot climate, and then didn't get retorqued after the engine was heated up, and then it got, you know, transported to a different climate, and then it opened up a little bit. So I know that sounds kind of melodramatic, but there's nothing like good old RTV that just fills in the gap, and it's an assured settle of your gaskets. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring those out and discuss that. But I think I'm going to shut the video down there. I may do a few more videos, but probably not tonight. I don't even know what time it is. It's pretty late. I'm just going to get in assembly mode right now and because you know, rockers and push rods, rocker assemblies and push rods are just pretty much, that's what it is. It's straightforward. You don't have to lash the valves on these engines. You just torque them up. I should know, I think it's 40, it's either 40 or 45 foot-pounds on your rocker studs, and they literally just it's amazing how simple it is. It just pushes everything together, open up the valves in certain areas, and some of them you'll find are closed. I don't, you probably believe because you're not aware of it, but I've always clarified in my videos that when I do my final bottom end work, I always bring the #1 piston up to top dead center, verify with the marks down on the dampener, and then a double check is you look at your 2 lifters for the #1 cylinder, and they should be all the way down. Okay, if one of them's sticking up really high, like it's in a proud position, in other words, as if a valve is open, it's going to be an exhaust valve is open. I think I may be backwards about that, and you're going to be 180 degrees out of time. The #6 will be at top dead center compression, but the #1 will be at top dead center. I should know this. I'm pretty sure at exhaust, but it may be intake. But neither here nor there. You'll get a horrific spit back, and it won't even crank. So I pride myself on always having them at top dead center compression. That way, when you put all this stuff together and then drop the distributor in, I don't have to think anymore. I'm just, you know, I'm just assembling what's in front of me. And that's kind of what I meant a little while ago by I'm about to just go into assembly mode and just not really have to think much more, which is a good place to be when you're tired from building an engine. So I don't think there's anything else I need to cover. Again, I'm making these videos for you, Mike, mostly, and this is what I'm, now you see kind of what I mean by I didn't get to spend you know, any time video-wise with this engine here, and I appreciate you trusting me on that, because that's a scary proposition for someone to take over a job and not, and all the parts are just in, we call it, like in the motorcycle industry, it's a basket case. You know, you take over a basket case and you bring it back to life. This one was a lot nicer because I was able to pull it apart, categorize everything, keep it in order. But there's a lot to it, but I think that should be it. So I'm going to shut the video down and work another couple hours and then call it a night. Thanks, guys.